Okay, here are a couple more examples of solving quadratic equations by completing the square. And let's go ahead and take a look at this left one. We do need to be careful, so let me show you. Remember, I was saying that we could complete the square and make this a trinomial, then a binomial squared, if we do half the middle term squared. But when I said that, we got to be careful here. The coefficient of x squared was 1. So we need to ensure that the coefficient of x squared is 1 before we do half of that middle term squared to create the binomial squared. So we're going to have to take a first step here of dividing everything by 2 so that we end up with a coefficient of 1 in front of the x squared. Don't forget, whatever you do on the left, you also have to do on the right of the equation. So my equation now becomes x squared minus 2x is equal to 4. I could subtract that 4 from both sides and try to factor the equation and solve by factoring using the zero factor property, but I'm trying this completing the square business, so I'm going to add something to both sides, and that is half of that thing squared. And here's what it looks like. X squared minus 2x plus half of this, negative 2, squared, equals on the other side 4 plus the same thing. Half of the middle term squared. So that gives me x squared minus 2x. Negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1 squared is positive 1 equals, same thing on the other side, 4 plus 1. Now you can double check to make sure we did it right. What times what is 1? That also adds to negative 2. Negative 1 times negative 1 is 1 and also adds to negative 2. So we know we did it correct to obtain this binomial, x minus 1 quantity squared on the left side. On the right side, 4 plus 1 is 5. So now we can take a square root of both sides, and in fact, I keep doing this. I'm not leaving enough space here. Let me put the 5 over there so that I can take a square root here, take a square root here, put my plus and minus. This gives me then x minus 1 is equal to plus and minus the root of 5. Add 1 to both sides. Add 1. And we have our solutions. X is equal to, I like to put this 1 in front, 1, and then the plus or minus root 5. It just looks kind of nice, doesn't it? And there are our two solutions. 1 plus root 5, 1 minus root 5. Okay. All right, let's take a look at this next equation. Again, as I stated there, we're going to need a 1 in front of the x squared. So let's go ahead and start by dividing everything by 7. Okay, both the left side and the right side. So what that leaves me with over here is x squared minus 2/7 x minus 4/7 equals, the nice thing about 0, 0 divided by anything is 0. Now if this 4 over 7 was half of this negative 2 over 7 squared, half of negative 2 over 7 squared, then we would be fine to simply go from there, but it's not, and obviously it's not because this is a negative. And any number squared, negative or positive, gives me a positive. So let's just get this guy out of the way by adding 4/7 to both sides. Now I've got x squared minus 2 over 7x is equal to 4 over 7. Okay, so I can take a look at this to try to take that next step of adding half of the middle term squared to both sides to complete the square. And that's what this looks like, or that is here what this looks like. Here what this looks like. What am I saying? Okay, x squared minus 2/7 x plus half just means 1 over 2 times this, right? The middle term squared. So let me do negative 2 over 7 times 1/2. There's half the middle term, squared, onto both sides. 4/7 plus the same business. Negative 2 over 7 times 1/2 squared. Okay, let's see, let me simplify this. Those 2's can cancel, of course. Same on the other side. So we're looking at negative 1 over 7 squared, which produces 1/49. So this gives me then x squared minus 2 over 7x plus 1/49 is equal to 4/7 plus 1/49. I'm just curious what this is. Why don't we put this together by finding a common denominator and adding the fractions. So this gives me 28 plus 1 over 49. This is 29/49. Okay, wonderful fraction there. On the left side, we have a binomial squared. That binomial is then x. And what we put here is, if we have a minus here as the middle term, we need a minus here. And it is half the middle term that goes as our second guy. So half the middle term was 1/7 squared. And you can verify that. Just make sure that if you multiply this back out, you would end up with this trinomial right here on the left. And you do. Equal to 29/49. All right. 29/49. And I'm still on the screen. Now take a square root of both sides. Okay. So root of x minus 1/7 squared is equal to plus and minus the root of 29 over 49. Don't forget that when you have a root of a fraction, you can call that the root of the top over the root of the bottom. So then on the left, I've got x minus 1/7 is equal to plus and minus root 29 all over 7, because the root of 49 is 7. And then add 1/7 to both sides, add 1/7, add 1/7. And now this looks like x is equal to 1/7 plus or minus root 29 over 7. And those are our solutions. You could leave it like that, or you could use that common denominator to call it 1 plus or minus root 29 all over 7. So this is fine. Here's our solution, or solutions, I should say. And again, you could write it like this: x equals 1 plus or minus root 29 all over 7, same. And if you wanted to, you could get common denominators if there weren't common denominators, and proceed from there. So that's it for this video. Let me move on to other more complicated examples of solving quadratic equations by completing the square.